all, let me thank Tilotoma Foundation for organizing this conference on insights on environmental conservation. I consider environmental degradation as one of the most serious challenges of this century, which has the capability to actually endanger the entire human civilization. Therefore, I congratulate you, and I congratulate you all, your colleagues who are engaged in doing this wonderful work, and to Tushima Datta, who is the moderator of this session. I would also like to convey my best wishes to all other participants who are going to address this conference during the course of this afternoon session. So I would like to begin with uh, my presentation now. First of all, let us understand
Hello.
what is environment. You
Yeah,
see,
I'm able to join now.
okay,
I joined. I was able to join.
okay. Can you put
Y-
your microphone off so that,
Okay, all right. All right.
so what is environment? That is one of the things, how to define environment. Actually, there is no better definition of environment than we call in Sanskrit Panch Mahabhut. That the five great elements of nature, they constitute the environment. That is the space, we call it Akash, air, then energy or fire, water, and earth. Earth with all its geological features and millions of life. Now that is the environment surrounding us, which is actually the source of our survival. Whatever we eat or drink, air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothing we wear, the habitation we live in, the energy we consume, and everything else we use in our life comes from this very environment. This environment sustains and nurtures our life, and that is why it is our home. I call it our home. Now, humans had perfect harmony with environment for thousands of years. There was no problem in the past, but this industrial revolution in the middle of the 18th century started impacting on all that. The two important things happened: industrial revolution, which gave birth to a lot of machines and mechanized system of production. And secondly, the theory of Adam Smith, which is his book known as Wealth of Nations, where he defined that wealth of nation is the goods and services produced in a country, not the human beings, not any other beings, only the goods and services. So with that, there was a new competition which started to have machine produced items and exploitation of natural resources. Now, exploitation of nature, the nature which sustains our life, we started exploiting that nature. How ironical it is. Then with that came mass production, what we call assembly line production, massive urbanization, and emergence of a consumer society. Till the COVID problem started, we saw the peak of the consumer society going up and up, the global GDP increasing every single day. The technology and globalization, they also added to this process. Now you can see how much we are destroying the environment. 60 billion tons of minerals are extracted, net minerals. If you take the gross, it is more than 100 billion tons per year. Can you imagine? That is the kind of damage we are doing. We are producing all kinds of products. The shopping malls are filled with all that. And what we are in a race for higher GDP every day, higher per capita income, higher gross domestic product. These are our aim everywhere, anywhere in the world. All global leaders are doing this. And as a result, we are now challenging the carrying capacity of the earth. The earth cannot carry this anymore. And I think the recent pandemic of COVID has shown it that nature has its own method of containing it. Now, consumption and environment, if you look at the gross domestic product of the world, in 1950, it was 5.31 trillion US dollars. With the same amount of US dollars or the same value of US dollar, it is today approximately 86 trillion US dollars, which on PPP basis works out about 128 trillion US dollars. It has gone up 25 times. And the natural resources are being exploited in a big way. We can feel in our own life how much we used to use in childhood and how much we are using now. I can say for myself that I'm at least using 20 times than what I used to use from nature in my childhood. So things have changed tremendously. This has led to tremendous deforestation, loss of biodiversity. The wildlife population has declined by almost 50% since 1970. I'm talking about from 70. So all these, and now we will come to the specifics in subsequent slides. The environmental degradation can be divided into 6 parts: water contamination, contamination and acidification of oceans, ecosystem loss, air pollution, and global warming. These are the major areas where we are having serious problems. Minimum 35% of agricultural soil has been degraded due to erosion, salinization, use of chemical fertilizers, desertification, and all that. I have done some articles on that separately, but we have lost minimum 1/3 of total productive soil in the world. And you know how much time it takes to make soil. It takes a few hundred years to have the fertile soil in place. The fresh water consumption has gone up 9 times since 1950. The per capita availability has gone down considerably. It's expected to be around even less than 5,000 cubic meters in these years, which is not enough, and it will not be enough in the coming years. Water bodies are shrinking, they are getting contaminated. We can see industrial effluent. Can you imagine 330 cubic meters of cubic kilometers of water going into the municipal sewage all around? 1.7 billion tons of solid waste generated every year. I can give you empty examples of things. In the ocean, there are 13,000 plastic pieces every square kilometer of ocean surface. That is the kind of environment we have created in the last 50 years, particularly since last 70 years, particularly since 1950. Now, 92% of global population lives in areas where the quality of air index is not healthy. Now, the greenhouse gas emissions are hitting a record level. You will see some graphs later on. We are even, despite so many treaties and conventions and conferences, the amount of GHG emission is going up every single day. It's a very, very sad state. Then air contamination is increasing. About 7 to 8 million people are dying every year, only because of air contamination. We have seen in India how bad the air contamination goes in the months of November, December, January. These are just some pictures to give you. This is a picture of India where we have, you can see air contamination in the month of November, December. This is also a picture in our own country, how water contamination is taking place. And this is the erosion of soil, which is happening. We can see the desertification of soil and salinity. All this you can see in these pictures. Now, in terms of human health, the heart diseases, stomach diseases, strokes, respiratory, all these diseases are increasing in quantum jumps. There are Cornell research people saying that 40 50% of the total deaths in the world are caused due to air, water, and soil pollution today. And most of the human illnesses are because of water pollution and poor quality of air. So this is very sad state in terms of human health as well. Now you can see this graph that after 1950, the amount of GHG emission has climbed up in a very, very sharp, way. You can see this, you can have statistics available everywhere in the world. And then you see, this is the global trend of the GHG emission, particularly after 1970. The emissions are going up. This is 49 gigatons every year. And this is only 2010 figure. If we go to 2020 figure, you will find it at least 55 gigatons. So this is going up tremendously. Then you see this tremendous evidence of global warming everywhere. The ice sheets everywhere in the world are going down. Greenland, Antarctica, the glaciers, they are melting everywhere because of the global warming. Each of the last 3 decades have been warmer and warmer on the earth. And if you look at the temperatures, you will see a chart subsequently that in the current century, all the years have been warmer than any time in the past. So all these evidences are available to us. We can see the global sea level is rising. It's about 8 inches in the last century, which means a lot of islands are already drowning. Some will drown in the coming years and decades. Then the Earth's average surface temperature has risen. The Greenland, Arctic, and Antarctic ice sheets have decreased in mass quantity. You can ask scientists; they will tell you how much decline these ice sheets have experienced, particularly in the last 20, 30 years. Now, I don't want to go into too many details of this nature, but let me tell you that there is a IPCC, which is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This is a scientific body of the United Nations, which does study on all the climate related issues, all the global warming issues, and all the contamination issues. They periodically issue a report. The last report was issued in 2015. The new report will be issued in 2022, next one. And that report has given tremendous amount of data proving that how much global warming has taken place and how it's affecting in every side of human life. So this is this report, if you have a look at just a cursory look, you will realize that how dangerous the path we are treading right now. This is the 10 hottest year in this current century. In fact, 2017 was the hottest. This graph is a little older, so this is up to 2016. 2017 was even hotter. 2018 and 2019 are also hot, but not the hottest. You can see these ice sheets and the glaciers, they are melting like this. This is the graph of the air pollution, global air pollution. Most of the cities where we live, they have very high concentration of, what you call particles per million, ppm, what they call it. And those particles means the air is very dangerous for our living. The quality of air quality index is very, very poor. This is the air quality index as per WHO. And most of the people today live in this category of heavily polluted, 201 to 300. In India, we live in severely polluted atmosphere. This is even worse than that. So let me come now. What is the cause of all this? I have put them into 7 C's. 7 C's is one of the capitalism. Capitalism is not bad in effect, but It provides an atmosphere where you can exploit things for what you call consumer society. So it provides the capital, it provides the atmosphere. Then we have a corporate culture. Now corporate is a what we call an identity which does not exist, which is impersonal identity. It's only on the paper. And they have no concern because human being has some concern, but corporations have no concern. Their concern is only profit and providing returns to the shareholder and having their own growth, and therefore they don't care what happens to the climate and nature. Conquest of nature is the next item on agenda, on the global agenda. Every country is trying to conquest the nature, that we will change this, we will do this, and we try to exploit the nature in every form. Of course, they are failing and they will fail miserably, but that's what they are doing right now. And consumption, because without more consumption, you can't have more GDP. That's impossible. More GNP, more GDP, more per capita income emanates from more consumption, higher consumption. And therefore, the consumption is becoming the key slogan for all the corporates, all the capitalist society, all the leaders of the globe. And consumption means you have to exploit nature more, you have to contaminate more. Everything which comes has to be produced in factories. First, you refine the raw material, you contaminate. Then the refined raw material are used for producing certain products. Then you contaminate. So you contaminate air, you contaminate water, and you contaminate soil. All the elements of the nature we are contaminating. And then the climate change is happening, and we are inviting calamities ourselves. Now, what do the experts say? The current Secretary General of UN has said that realities about climate change are worse than expected, worse than expected, and with very severe consequences. Sir David Attenborough, who is known for his concern for environment, he says that human civilization may collapse if urgent action is not taken to curb the climate change. This is what he has said. And you can see some economists, Joseph Stiglitz, he's a very well-known economist. He says that climate crisis is our third world war. It needs bold response like Green New Deal. That's what he says. So this is the warning which is very clear, which is writing on the wall in front of us. And we have to address this issue everywhere. Now, that was the dark side. Now let's see also the better side, the positive side of this problem. Now, of course, there is a greater awareness about climate. There are a lot of what you call networking all over the world. We have this Earth Day network. We have a lot of campaign for renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy, nuclear energy. Then there are plastic-free groups. There's a lot of pressure to get rid of plastic items, particularly single-use plastic. Then there are green lobbies. They want to put, stop to the what we call denudation of forests. They want to put new plants all around, increase the green areas wherever possible. Then water lobbies, which want to contain the contamination of rivers, of the lakes. Wildlife lobbies, processing and reuse of waste, which is very, very important because we have mountains of waste in many cities. And in India, we can see waste all around in all the cities, even on the roads everywhere. Then public transport expense is important because that's the only way you can reduce the number of vehicles on the road. And in fact, this system of sharing economy is also helping in that, where one car can be used by many, like Uber, Ola system was also fairly good. In that sense, the number of cars on the roads come down, at least in some quantity. Then, of documentaries on BBC and Netflix, where they have given very alarming picture of our planet and what can happen. So these are the positive side. People are understanding this problem. There's a global awareness, there are global lobbies, the governments are acting, the international efforts are on. I have not put here the international efforts because we know since the global, what we call Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, uh, many summits have taken place. The last being what you call the Rio Plus 20, and there was also the Millennium Summit before that. Then there was uh, what you call 2015. There was a summit, what we call uh, Climate Action Summit at UN. Now, all these summits have taken place. Global awareness is there, but on the ground situation has not changed much. Of course, there are some actions which have been taken. Now, Treaty of Paris has been ratified by 186 countries. Climate Action Summit in UN 2019, which was another successful event just before the COVID thing came up. Then there are nationally determined contributions and targets, which have been specified for most countries, and so many countries are taking action on that. I can see Nordic countries are the most active, and they are developing renewable energies. They're using bicycles, and they are making plastic free their own countries, and they are creating architecture which is environmentally friendly. In India also there's awareness now. We are having plantation of trees. The Solar Alliance, the Prime Minister Modi recently inaugurated a solar plant which is supposed to be one of the largest in the world. And then we have some water saving, water harvesting equipment. China is also doing in some steps in this direction, and European Union and US. US is, coming out of the Paris Treaty, which is very unfortunate. But I'm sure maybe after the election they will rejoin and they will not actually come out. So these international efforts are working in a limited way, but they will not work in a great way. What is the essence of life? Essence of life is moderation. In Sanskrit, we say ati sarvatra varjate. Excess is always prohibited. And that is what Buddha also said, the middle path of Buddha. If we do not want to see extreme poverty in the country, but at the same time, if you have uh, trillions, the people, a few people having trillions of dollars, there are about 2050 uh, billionaires in dollar terms in the world today. In India, which is a comparatively poor country, we have more than 100 billionaires in dollar terms, 119, I suppose, now. So that concentration of wealth on the one hand, poverty on the other hand, is not sustainable. If we want sustainability, we have to have moderation. We have to have what we call in economics the distributive justice. And that is what is needed. We have to curb our greed. Greed is the cause of all the problems. Uh, Given the constraint of time, I won't be able to go more into these areas. But Mahatma Gandhi said once that there's enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. And that is where the problem is. The desires are infinite. They keep expanding in a geometric progression. One satisfied desire gives rise to four more desires, and four gives rise to 16 more. And that is an area which is completely unreachable. In Mahabharata, there is a sloka which tells you that if you control the entire earth, you are the king of the earth, and your age is not increasing, you are not advancing in age, you have stabilized your age. Even then you will not be happy, because then you will like to conquer some other planets, and that's what we are doing. So the human greed is infinite. We have to understand that tendency, and we have to, by understanding that, we have to teach it to everybody that this material desires will keep increasing. We have to learn what our ancestors told us, to live with less. Those who can live with less, they are what we call enlightened. With more, anybody can live, but those who can live with less, they are really an enlightened people. And this is what we call Isavasya Upanishad said. ईसा वास्यमिदं सर्वं यत्तिं च जगत्यां जगत ten takten bhunjita magrat kasya swavidanam. That this entire universe is pervaded by the Almighty, or whatever the force you call it, and you should use only as much as you need. Not Don't become greedy, don't become attached to things, because none of this belong to you, and therefore you should draw only as much you need, not more. And that should be the lesson. And I would like to end my presentation with this story. In a village, there used to be a hen uh, with a with a family. The hen used to give one golden or gold egg every day. The family was very happy. They used to sell the egg and lived happily. One day, the family went to a big city and they saw big jewelry shops and big palaces and a lot of shopping malls. And the wife got tempted. She came back home and she told her husband that, why don't we buy those kind of things? We buy some jewelry, we buy big palace with this. So how can we do that? They were discussing this at home. So the wife suggested, listen, we are getting one egg every day from the hen. Why don't we, cut it and take out all the eggs at the same time so that we can do all that? And you know the result, what happened? They did that, and even that one egg which was coming one day, every day, stopped coming. And that is what we are doing to the Mother Earth today. We want to take out everything for us. We don't want to leave anything for the future. And what will happen? We are going to endanger the lives of our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren. And therefore, it is time that we understand that growth of GDP is not an answer. It cannot be infinite. We have to stop more and more consumptions. We have to learn to live with less. That is what I would like to say. If we want to really care for environment, we should live in harmony with the environment, because environment is sustaining us, it is nurturing us, it is the source of our life. Thank you very much for giving me this chance to make this presentation. And I wish we can follow some of these lessons which are enshrined in our ancient wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful presentation.